Welcome to the Speak Your Piece podcast. My name is Ian McNaughton, Big E. Thank you very much for joining. It's greatly appreciated. Happy, I guess I did an episode last week. Happy 2026 Part 2. It's the first Monday in 2026, so people are probably going to work today. So I'm glad I could provide an episode to keep you interested, to, make your day more tolerable. That's what I'm here for. That's my job. We got a good show coming up. We're going to discuss some hockey. We're going to discuss some NFL. We're basically doing this right before the medal games at the World Juniors. NFL Week 18, the final week of the regular season was last week. A lot of good stuff to talk about. But first, I should say that we're kind of back at Speak Your Piece in case you haven't been paying attention or you're new. First of all, if you're new, welcome. Again, my name's Ian McNaughton. This is the Speak Your Piece podcast. I've been doing some version of this podcast since like 2017, 2018, and it's very bare bones. I don't have a studio. I basically run this off my Chromebook, just to give you an idea of how bare bones this is. So I am going to need a new laptop. But it's a fun podcast. We're trying to get back into doing 2 podcasts a week, 2 episodes a week. That's the goal now. 2 episodes a week, plus some YouTube stuff, plus some social stuff, plus some articles. Again, if you haven't already or you don't already, you can follow us on Instagram at SYPPod. That's all lowercase. That's all one word. If you want, go check out our YouTube channel. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then if you aren't already, you can check out my Substack. That's the other one. I basically write as well. That's my, I guess, fun hobby that, well, you could argue all SYP is a hobby. This is basically what keeps me from going completely insane. That is what this is. You are supporting my mental health by listening to this, by watching this, and paying attention. That's essentially what this is you supporting my mental health. So I appreciate it. It's basically, it's a sports podcast for the most part. Every once in a while, maybe we'll venture out and we'll do like some entertainment stuff. We'll talk like a little music or some movies. Sometimes, it's very rarely. Haven't done that really for years. But sometimes we do. Sometimes we'll bring out old reliable, I guess you could say. But yeah, basically any support is greatly appreciated. I thank you for your support, for anybody's contribution, for any like, for any follow. It means a lot. It really does. This is basically, my passion, what I enjoy doing, and hopefully it goes somewhere. If not, I don't know. I just enjoy doing it. So can't wait to share some of the other stuff we have coming down the line. We got a lot of good stuff coming, hopefully in 2026 between the Olympics, maybe some FIFA World Cup, some other tournaments. So I can't wait. And if you do hear a whiny dog, there's a whiny dog in the back. So that's my dog Kaz. He's a friend of the show. He would speak, but he just whines. He's not a great podcast guest. So. Yeah, again, thank you very much to everybody who supports, follows. We have a couple of announcements we're going to be making tomorrow, so stay tuned to our Instagram and YouTube. We got a couple of videos coming out tomorrow, a couple of announcements, so stay tuned for all that. It'll be good. Maybe even get out some prizes. Who knows? And yeah, that's kind of the good stuff that we got coming along here. That's the sports podcast, I don't know, chili, gumbo, soup, whatever you want to call it. We got it. It's the good stuff. I can't wait to share more. I can't wait for all the stuff that we got coming up. It's gonna be great. I'm excited. Stay tuned. Tell your friends. Even tell people who aren't your friends. Just go up to people on the streets and be like, "Hey, you heard of SYP? You know Ian McNaughton? You know Speak Your Piece? This guy rocks. This guy's cool. You should go follow it." And it's like, "Who are you?" It's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who I am. Just go follow the pod. Let's dive into sports a little bit. Let's go into the World Juniors. We're doing this again. Monday, January 5th, the day after Canada loses at the World Juniors. They were defeated by Czechia 6-4 in the semifinals. Sweden beat Finland 4-3 in the shootout. The gold medal game tonight will be Czechia versus Sweden. The bronze medal game is going to be Canada versus Finland. Some good stuff there. Unless you're a Canada fan, like I mean, I'm sure you like Canada wants to win bronze. I mean, third is better than fourth. It's not first or second. That's kind of the best way to describe winning the bronze medal. But I mean, Czechia or Sweden will win gold. I don't think Czechia's won it. I think they showed a graphic of like since 2001. Czechia hasn't won gold at the World Juniors. For Sweden, it's 2012. So it's going to be a first time winner. First time in a while that we'll get a new winner. It's somebody. Basically, it's like 13 years since like Finland, the U.S. or Canada aren't winning World Juniors. Just to give you an idea. So let's dive into it a little bit. I watched both games yesterday. I thought the Finland. I'm trying to figure out what the right description is of Finland Sweden. It's almost like a spritzer. Like, you know what I mean? It's fine. It's solid. It's it's a bit cheeky. It's a little funny. It could be a little chaotic, but otherwise it's a pretty solid, like, you know what you're getting into, reliable, it's tough to go over the top. And that was kind of yesterday's game where Sweden-Finland felt very almost safe, almost like you knew what you were expecting. They knew what they were expecting from one another. Both teams played really well. It was a fun game to watch. It's so almost comical that the IIHF has 3-on-3 in elimination games. And not only 3-on-3, but if you don't score a goal in the first 10 minutes of your 3-on-3, then you're getting a shootout in an elimination game. That's just hilarious to me. That's just really fucking funny. Such an unserious league. And that's also combined with like the NHL. At least the NHL has the decency to just play 5-on-5 hockey in an elimination game until someone wins, until someone scores, and then you have a winner. Boom, fine. And I understand that the Canada-Czechia game was starting afterwards, and you didn't want to delay that any longer than you had to, but for the sake of the game, just do 5-on-5. You don't need 3-on-3 overtime and then a shootout. You just don't. You really don't. It's not necessary. So that's why I said Sweden, Finland, that game was like a spritzer. That was like, hey, this is fun. This is kind of cool. This is, a little fun, a little cheeky, somewhat serious, but, it's serious with a little whimsy, I guess you could say, with Sweden, Finland. Meanwhile, Czechia and Canada, that was like a fireball shot after fireball shot after fireball shot. That's basically that was the extent of the game. It was just crazy, like nonstop goal, action, goal, like just high danger chance after high danger chance. Crazy game yesterday, Canada, Czechia. Czechia got the better of Canada the second time around. Obviously, they met on Boxing Day in group stage play, but no, Canada, Czechia was just a fireball shot after another fireball shot after another fireball shot. It was crazy. It was chaotic. I'm disappointed that Canada lost. I'm happy Czechia won. I need a glass of water. That's essentially my takeaway from Canada, Czechia. Canada loses to Czechia in the middle round for the third straight year. Czechia scored 3 goals in the third period. Canada scored 2, I believe. So Canada was down going into the third, and then they got outscored in the third period. I know there's an empty netter, but still. I thought the big takeaway really from yesterday's Canada-Czechia game was Czechia's tremendous job at creating odd man rushes, counterattacks. They seem to play the point quite a bit against the Canadian Demon, and that led to 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, just numerous. I don't have any stats in front of me because I don't think they have advanced stats out. So TSN does the sports logic or whatever, stats during the intermission, but those stats, as far as I could make out, are not available to the public. Are not available to you and I. Which is strange. Just if you're going to show something on a broadcast, you should make it public for people to see. For Joe Schmoes like you and me to go find. Because I might not know what the information means, but at least I have the information, right? That's kind of my mentality on it. A lot of 2-on-1s. I'm surprised that Canada didn't really adjust at any point. Dale Hunter and team did not adjust. They kept playing the same kind of style. They didn't bring any men back, it felt like. There's either one or two guys on the back end. There would never seem to be three guys high, if that makes sense. Three guys on the back end. Maybe that's not how you play, but that's how Czechia is playing, and you're not beating them. You're not controlling the play. They're controlling the momentum with all of their odd man rushes. So maybe do something about it. And they never seem to. They never seem to make any changes. They never seem to make any adjustments in that game, it felt like. So that's my biggest takeaway from that game. That most surprising. Not necessarily that Czechia was doing that against Canada. It made sense because it worked. They thought they had a advantage. They thought they had a mismatch. The Czechia, team against the Canadian Demon. So good for Czechia. They just did something and they kept doing it and it worked and eventually they won. Player wise, I thought Gavin McKenna was slightly underwhelming this tournament. Now, he might have a really good bronze medal game, and maybe it changes the perspective on him. I was not really all that thrilled with his game, if I'm honest. And I know that he's, a year below most of these guys on this team. I understand Gavin's going to get drafted this year. A lot of these guys are already drafted. There's 14 first-round picks on this team. So I understand that Gavin McKenna is, he's got a lot of competition. It's tough competition in his own room. Never mind when he's out on the ice against others. He, I thought, only really took over one game, and that was the Denmark game. And I don't know how much you want to read into a 9-1 win over Denmark. However, he didn't really show that in any other game. I was waiting for him to take over, to show his skill, to show his prowess. And the kid is skilled. I'll give him that. He is skilled. He just never seemed to take over a game. He never seemed to dominate. I was actually a little surprised by his lack of physicality, his lack of hustle sometimes. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't hustle. I'm not saying that he's not a competitive kid. That's not what I'm saying at all. I just thought there were times where I was expecting a little bit more physicality, a little more oomph, and I didn't see it. I didn't see it for most of this tournament. So maybe, that's part of why people at the beginning of this tournament were like, hey, Penn State, it hasn't really gone all that great. It's been okay, but it hasn't been great. He comes to this tournament. He was okay. He wasn't great. I mean, I know he had 10 points. Did I think that he was a major part of Canada's success? Yeah. I don't know. There were so many guys. Michael Hage was impressive. Michael Hage, Michael Misa. Those guys are really good. Zane Parekh was terrific. I was talking about this with somebody. I actually didn't mind the Kayshawn Aitchison and Ben Danford D pair. I actually didn't mind that. Obviously, Canada had their checking line, that third line of Boudouin, I think, Sam O'Reilly, and Denoyer. They had their third line. That third line was the best line. They started with that line yesterday, and obviously Brady Martin gets hurt. He's out for the rest of the game, so that throws a bit of a wrench into head coach Dale Hunter's plans. But you had that third line, which was arguably Canada's best line, the Boudjouin, O'Reilly, Denoyer line, and then they went into a blender and they put Gavin McKenna on that line. They took Denoyer out, and they put McKenna on that line, and it didn't work. It was not I didn't think it was a fit. It didn't really make sense considering how well that line has been playing all tournament, and now you're throwing that line into a blender. I don't know. There's some of the coaching things that I didn't necessarily agree with. The other one I want to bring up is Porter Martone being captain. I think the kid's good. I think he's a talented player. I've listened to him on other podcasts coming into this tournament. I think he's got a decent personality. I think he plays well, should be an NHLer at some point. There's just something about being the captain of Team Canada that I would have liked to think he could take more. He should have taken more seriously, I think. This was a guy who was a bit cocky, and I understand being a bit cocky. I mean, to a certain extent, you kind of have to be a bit cocky, but within reason. Like, there is a line. I think there is a line that I think Martone crossed against Czechia in the first game, and I think he crossed it this past game yesterday against Czechia. I was looking for better leadership. I think it was Hage who was the guy it was either Hage or Misa who spoke after the game. It might have been Misa. And you could just see the depression down the guy's face. And I'm sorry to say, you felt bad for the guy because after watching that interview, it's like, shit, this means something to him. And I'm not saying it doesn't to Porter Martone, but I didn't see his post-game interview. But the Misa one, I think, was the one that got to me like, fuck, this guy gives a shit. It was Misa or Hage. Maybe it was Hage. One of those guys are like, fuck, this guy gives a shit. This means something to him. And now they're not going for gold. So I don't know. There's just some coaching decisions from this tournament that I'm like, I don't know that I would have done that. Do all of these things add up to why they lost to Czechia? Maybe, maybe not. I think maybe they just ran into a better team, a team that played harder, a team that played better, a team that wanted it more. That might just be the end-all, be-all. That might just be what happened Sunday. But, there are some factors. There are some things that are like, hey, not ideal. Not ideal. Some questionable decisions. So, but kudos to Czechia. Kudos to Shar, to Galvis, all those guys. They played a hell of a game. They were giving it to Canada. They were pushing Canada. They were testing Canada, and I don't know that Canada was necessarily ready for that either. They didn't look like they had the same intensity I thought that Czechia did. I thought Czechia went to another level, just one up them in terms of intensity, and maybe that was the reason why Czechia won. So, again, why did Canada lose? I have written in my notes here. Not one reason why, but I'd suggest a mix of coaching, high-end talent, not clutch. McKenna? Question mark? Like Hage and Misa were really good. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably not fair to him. And Czechia wanted it more. I think that's the big takeaways that I have from the semifinal. That was again, fireball of game. Fireball shot after fireball shot after fireball shot. Intense, back and forth, chaotic. And I think there wasn't one reason why Canada lost, but there's a few reasons why it happened the way it did. So, again, World Juniors, gold medal tonight, Czechia, Sweden. The bronze medal is Finland, Canada. then the tournament ends, and then there's no more World Juniors until next year. Next year it's going to be in Edmonton and Red Deer, and I might check that out. We'll see. I'd like to go do that. I think that'd be fun. Could be entertaining. Canada back on home soil, because it's Canada next year, it's Alberta next year, and then it's Finland the year after that, which would also be really fun. I think that would also be really cool. And then after that, it is Quebec City and Trois-Rivières, and I would love to go see that. That seems like it would be a really fun tournament. Could be a good time. So, NFL, Week 18. Let's do some football talk. The Seahawks beat the 49ers. I don't like to use blowout when it's a 10-point game, but the Seahawks dominated San Francisco, especially defensively. The Bucs beat the Panthers, but Atlanta beats New Orleans, so the Panthers are your NFC South champions. The Steelers won on a last-second field goal against Baltimore. Tyler Loop. So sorry, man. That's unfortunate. Our playoff matches are set. We'll talk about those later this week. I'll preview those games. Yesterday was also the last, potentially, unless the Bills somehow host a playoff game, last game at Highmark Stadium in Buffalo. So some decent NFL stuff. The Jets might be dead. The Jets scored 8 points against the Bills, basically second team. Jets might be dead. Jets, I don't know what the point of the Jets are. They're just there as a social experiment. The Jets are not real. So basically the playoff matchups as it stands, the LA Rams will go to Carolina Saturday. That's at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. The Packers will go to Chicago, play the Bears. That's on Saturday, 5 p.m. Pacific. So that's a Saturday night game. That game is going to be on Prime, by the way. For those in the States, it's going to be on Prime. So, game's gone. A Packers-Bears playoff game, and it's on Amazon Prime. Game's gone. Bills-Jags, sneaky might be my favorite game of the week. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. on CBS. That could be fun. I could get down for that. 49ers-Eagles, Sunday afternoon, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. That's on Fox. Chargers at Patriots, Sunday night on NBC. And then Texans at Steelers a week from today, Monday, at Chrysler Field, whatever. It's not Heinz anymore, but it should be Heinz. But it's not Heinz. That's going to be Monday Night Football in the AFC. The games were fine, I thought, yesterday. I watched a bit. I didn't watch a ton. I did not really watch Steelers-Ravens. I watched the Juniors game instead, so I can't really comment on that. The Lions beat the Bears yesterday, which, I don't know. RIP to the Lions. I love the Lions. I think they're like my second favorite team. I like the culture. I like the organization. I like what they've been doing to try and make a winning team. It's just unfortunate because sometimes I think you get a little full of yourself, and I kind of wonder if that's what's happened with the Lions this season with all the fourth downs they've gone for, with all of the kind of they've re-signed a lot of guys. They've extended a lot of guys to a lot of money. But I think also, they lost both of their coordinators this year. They lost their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. He now head coach of the Bears. They lost their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. He's now the coach of the Jets, presumably. At the time of this recording, he is. He might not be anymore. But that's also not nothing. That's a tough thing to overcome, is losing not one but two coordinators. Good luck to anybody who has that happen to them. So, I don't know. The Lions are extremely entertaining to me. They do so many things well. They are such a fun team to kind of watch and scout. I wish they were in the playoffs, but instead we get the Bears and the Packers. So there we go. That's your NFL kind of recap there. The Jets are dead. The Raiders are going to draft first overall. I'm not sure that if I'm the Raiders, I'm necessarily taking Fernando Mendoza. I'm seeing what I could maybe get in a trade first for first overall. But that team has so many issues outside of just hey, we could use a quarterback. I mean, I kind of exonerate Geno for all the shit that's gone down in Vegas because, that team is a mess. That team is a heap of trash lit on fire. And I don't know how they fix it. They just need to get a bunch of different assets, I would say, and I'd be curious to know if there's some team that's willing to trade a bunch to get up to first overall and take the quarterback, i.e. the Jets. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? That's kind of my takeaway with the Raiders drafting first overall. I don't trust Tom Brady to find another head coach because he just did. He just did the same thing. Like we're exactly the same place we were a year ago with the Raiders. They hired Pete Carroll, and it's like, no, not gonna work. So we're gonna find another guy. All right. You haven't earned my trust this time around that you're gonna find the right guy. So good luck in a division where almost all three teams made the playoff. I know the Chiefs didn't, but the Chiefs fell apart really badly at the end. For a division where every team is better than you by a margin, to put it lightly, by a margin, and you're like, yeah, we don't have the right guy. We're gonna go find another guy. All right, you've been trying to find the right guy for fucking forever. Whether it's quarterback, whether it's a head coach, figure it out. Shouldn't be this hard. Shouldn't be this difficult. But it is, apparently. I mean, that's why we have the Jets. That's why we have the Raiders. That's why we have the Browns, the Browns I'm like kind of intrigued by. Like the Browns and the Saints are like the same to me. Although I think the Browns fired Kevin Stefanski. But the Browns, they have a quarterback in the same way the Saints have a quarterback. Like a guy that you're not going to go build around for next season. Who knows? I don't know. There's some interesting teams out there. Let's do a little PWHL, shall we? Was watching some of that this weekend. Some really good hockey. The Boston Fleet are the team to know. They are first place in the PWHL. They have 19 points in 19 games. They have a goal differential of +8. They seem to have a mix of scoring and goaltending. They were playing Vancouver the other day when I was watching them. They look good. They look fast. They look fun. Speaking of Vancouver, the Vancouver Golden Eyes, who are a new expansion team this year, they are 7th out of 8 PWHL teams. They have 12 points in 10 games. They have a goal differential of -8. So their goaltending has not been as sturdy, let's say, compared to some of the other teams. Like I think if you went out of all the qualified goalies, save percentage, it is Vancouver has like the 8th and the 11th in the league. So, not great for Vancouver. Obviously, they could score a little bit. They have the second fewest goals in the league this season. So Vancouver has a little bit of work to do. And I should clarify, we're about a third of the way through the PWHL season. So these teams have played 8, 9, 10 games. It's going to be about 30 some odd games here. So, there's about 20 games for the most part, 20, 21, 22 games left remaining for most teams. So we're about a third of the way through the PWHL season. They're going to take a big break during the Olympics as well. So it's a third. It's kind of like through a third of the way of the NHL season of like, we're seeing trends. I'm not necessarily buying that, this team is this or this team is that. I think there's trends. Like, there's 3 teams that are 3 points out of a playoff spot. There's 4 teams that are, there's a 7-point gap between first place and last place with 20 games to go. Like, there's a lot of ball left to be played here. The 2 teams that I am curious in, Toronto and Montreal. Toronto needs scoring help. Toronto has 15 points, 10 games. 15 points in 10 games. They have 20 goals this season, giving up 26. So they could probably use a little bit of scoring help too along the way. Montreal is right behind them. They have 13 points in 9 games. So, they're just a step behind, per se. They have 21 goals and 16 goals against. So they're just a bit unlucky, it seems like, that they are +5 in a goal differential. They are just outside the playoffs, though. So we'll see how much changes for them. Your scoring leaders this year in the PWHL, Kendall Coyne Schofield, she has 11 points in those 10 Minnesota games. Marie-Philip Palan has 11 points. Britta Curl Salem has 11 points. Brianne Jeter has 10 points. Amy Roque has 10. Kelly Panic has 10. I can't even read my own handwriting. I'm so awful at this. Brianne Jeter playing for Ottawa. The Ottawa Charge are last in the PWHL. Again, they have 12 points in 10 games. A -4 goal differential. They also just seem to be a bit unlucky at this point. And they, can come back and go on a run here. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Your goaltending leaders, Nicole Hensley for the Minnesota Frost. She has a .954 save percentage. She has not lost in regulation yet this year. So Minnesota, they're second in the PWHL. They have 16 points in 10 games, +6 goal differential. They score a lot, most goals of any PWHL team. So when you watch Minnesota this year, they score. They will get on you in a hurry. So watch out for that during the rest of the season. Erin Frankel, Boston. She has a .948 save percentage, 5-2-0-1 record. Boston's number one team. They got the number one goal. Well, second goalie, I guess. They've been leaning on her quite a bit, and she's been doing quite well. Anne-Renee Debienne of Montreal. She has a .947 save percentage. She's 4-3 record this year. She's been helping Montreal. She's the reason why they're not further down the standings. So see how she does going forward rest of the season. And then finally, the last goalie with at least a .945 save percentage in the PWHL is Hannah Murphy. She's a Seattle Torrent goalie, a rookie this year. She has a .945 save percentage, 3-1 record. Seattle, they have 12 points in 8 games. They have an 18-19 goals for, goals against, so a -1 goal differential. They need some scoring. Their defense seems to be playing well. They're getting good goaltending from Hannah Murphy, but just need some more help on the front end. Is what it looks like for the Seattle Torrent. In case I didn't mention, again, the New York Sirens, they have 15 points, 10 games. They have an even goal differential, 23-4, 23 against. Seem fairly balanced. They play a little bit more high-end hockey, high-event hockey than some of the other teams here. The Sirens have Alex Carpenter. She's doing really well. I think I mentioned all those teams, so notable names. Big month here. Basically, January is a big push right before the Olympics. It's like moving day in a golf tournament. On Saturday is your moving day. That's kind of what January is in the PWHL. Getting your big push on, getting your big moves ahead, so that you're not behind the 8 ball going into the Olympic break or going behind the 8 ball in the last third of the season. So we'll see how that goes. We're hoping to go cover some PWHL games here later on this year. Knock on wood. So far, from what I've heard, they've been a great experience in Vancouver at the Pacific Coliseum, in Seattle at Climate Pledge Arena. I know they've been doing some takeover games recently. They've been in Detroit. They've been in Edmonton. They've been in Dallas recently. So a lot of great stuff there. We'll definitely be paying attention to not only just the PWHL, but the women's hockey when the Olympics hit in February in Milan Cortina. That's my terrible accent. Winter Classic was Friday night. Didn't really watch. I tuned in a little bit. I wasn't really paying attention. I just tuned in just to check it out and see. I like the jerseys. I like the setting that they had. There were some empty seats, unfortunately, at Lone Depot Park in Miami. I don't know if that was traffic. I don't know if I thought they said it was a sellout, but who knows? Shout out to TNT for decent graphics. Like they had some kind of cool Miami Vice sort of graphics for the game. To me, it felt a bit like a glorified NHL and TNT broadcast. I was not a fan of it per se. It just didn't feel like a Winter Classic, and I know I'm coming off as a hating Canadian, a gatekeeper, and all this sort of stuff, and that's fair. I understand. Like there's different ways to try and grow the game. It's just for me, and I think for a lot of people, a Rangers, Panthers, not outdoor game, but they opened the roof at the last second. Game in Miami on a Friday night doesn't really do a whole lot for me. I was not really interested. I didn't really get excited about it. Kaz, he's whining. He wasn't excited about it either. Just not my cup of tea. There's no real rivalry. There's no real history. There's no real connection between the Rangers and the Panthers. There's no real outdoor hockey going on in Florida unless we're doing some rollerblading. But that's just me. I saw a report, and I think it got debunked, that the Winter Classic next year is going to be at Bristol Motor Speedway between Nashville Predators and Carolina Hurricanes. I'm only intrigued at the game taking place at Bristol Motor Speedway. Otherwise, the game, I don't really care. Like, Nashville, Carolina doesn't really do anything for me. I don't think there's really a rivalry there. And I guess I'm curious about the game being played at Bristol Motor Speedway because I just think that's such a cool but also terrible place to play a hockey game because you as a fan are sitting so far back from where the actual action is. Like, you might as well, like I don't know. If you're watching, I'm trying to think of even what the comparison is. Like, if you're trying to watch a Manners game, you might as well just watch it at the Space Needle. That is like the equivalent. I'm being a little, that might be a little far-fetched. But still, you know what I mean? Like, you are sitting so far away because of how, A, a NASCAR track works, and B, where an ice rink, how small an ice rink is and where it's going to be. So again, I don't think it's happening because I think they debunked it. I think they just said it's not true. But still, I think that's where the NHL's head's at. I did an article, if you didn't check it out, you should, last week about Winter Classic locations I'd like to see take place. And one of them was like Lake Louise, between the Oilers and the Flames. I don't know how realistic that actually is, considering how hard it is to probably get stands and temporary seats and suites and all this sort of stuff. I understand it's not easy. I understand this is not, a piece of cake. It's a bit of a pie in the sky idea, but I think there is more intrigue in that and there's more interest in that than there is some random Rangers-Panthers game in Miami. I just do. That's my 2 cents on the issue. So, Rangers won, though. Mika Zibanejad with a hat trick. The Rangers are undefeated in outdoor games, which I think they are still not beating the can't play at home, allegations. The Rangers, I think, still suck at Madison Square Garden. So that's basically what I got for Winter Classic. But hey, if you didn't like this Winter Classic, good news. There's another outdoor game in Florida with Boston and Tampa. In case with worse uniforms, if that floats your boat. Why they didn't do Tampa, Florida for this game? Like I don't fucking get it. I don't get it. Whatever. Yeah. So that's kind of the pod this week. Shout out to Hiroshi Tanahashi from New Japan Pro Wrestling. He retired. That was a big thing that I saw from people. The Ace, as he's called, he had his retirement match at the Wrestle Kingdom, I think it's called. It's the pay-per-view at the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo. Legend is retired. That's all I really got for this show for today. For Monday, January 5th, we'll have something later on this week, probably either Thursday or Friday. I might do kind of a recap of the college football playoff games, and then maybe some NFL preview stuff as well, maybe some hockey stuff too. The college football playoff games are Oregon and Indiana, and then Miami and Ole Miss. I believe. Oh, that's Thursday, Friday. I might do a preview. Indiana is playing Oregon and Atlanta in the Peach Bowl. The Hurricanes of Miami are playing the Rebels of Ole Miss in the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona on Friday. Might do a preview for that or a recap. We'll see. Yeah, that's the show for this week. Thank you very much for listening, for tuning in. If you can, please like this video on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram at SYPPod, rate, review, subscribe, follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. And we'll be back again soon. Thank you again so much for following along, for listening. Be sure to check out our Instagram and YouTube pages for new announcements coming out tomorrow on Tuesday. And we'll be back then. All right. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out.